after a while, people are going to want to get back to work. They have to get back to work. You can't just shut down the entire country. That's not going to work. People won't do it. People will make their own decisions. So you've got to be able to have tests. You've got to be able to know who is sick in order to get them isolated and, of course, keep them away from me, because the main thing we're all trying to, this is what we're all concentrating on, is saving the Klavan. We want to keep me alive. So, the tests are important. And, it's fine to say the government didn't get them out fast enough and all this stuff. But this stuff about finding any little way to get at Donald Trump, I mean, it is the act. The people, Jim Acosta, look at me, I'm Jim Acosta, is no better than those kids. That is the kind of stupid, childish, selfish, unchanging idiocy that I could only expect from a mainstream media reporter. And this thing again and again, I think 4 reporters asked Trump about, you're calling it the Chinese virus. One of them came up to Senator John Cornyn of Texas, and Cornyn really gave it to him. This is cut 7.
Are you on board with the president calling this the China virus, Chinese virus? Does it seem like that's helpful right now to call it that?
That's where it came from.
But is it helpful? It alienates people. It sort of sends tones like there's someone to blame, that there is a group of people to blame.
Well, I think China is to blame because the culture where people eat bats and snakes and dogs and things like that, these viruses are transmitted from the animal to the people, and that's why China has been the source of a lot of these viruses like SARS, like MERS, the swine flu, and now the coronavirus. So I think they have a fundamental problem.
So he's talking about eating bats and all this. Richard Engel on MSNBC, he's defending the Chinese. And I'm telling you, some of these guys, I don't know if they have financial links to China. I don't know if it's just some kind of kooky left-wing multiculturalism that's making him do this stuff. He's actually defending, this is NBC News' chief foreign correspondent, okay, Richard Engel. He's been around for a long time. Listen to what he says.
There was lots and lots of scapegoating against an ethnic group or a religious group whenever there were pandemics that affected the society and frightened a lot of people. And China certainly feels that is what is happening now with people calling it the Wuhan flu or the Wuhan virus or the China virus. This is a virus that came from the territory of China, but came from bats. This is a bat virus, not a China virus. It doesn't speak Chinese. It doesn't target Chinese people. It targets human beings who happen to touch their eyes, nose, or mouth.
First of all, in a 2019 article, Chinese experts warned, quote, it was highly likely that future SARS or MERS-like coronavirus outbreaks will originate from bats, and there is an increased probability that this will occur where? In China. These are Chinese experts, right? In a 2007 journal article, infectious disease specialists published a study arguing that, quote, the presence of a large reservoir of SARS-CoV-like viruses in horseshoe bats together with the culture of eating exotic mammals in southern China is a time bomb. The possibility of the reemergence of SARS and other novel viruses from animals or laboratories, and therefore the need for preparedness, should not be ignored. Stop eating bats. They're mammals. They're too much like us. It's easy to spread. Stop eating the bats. And they hang out in places, obviously, where they get sick. That was quoted in an article by Shadi Hamid, who I read his book. He's a good writer. He's not a conservative. He's just a kind of middle-of-the-road guy at the Brookings Institution, which is a left-leaning but not far-left organization. He's writing at The Atlantic. And he says, the evidence of China's deliberate cover-up of the coronavirus outbreak in Wuhan is a matter of public record. In suppressing information about the virus, doing little to contain it, and allowing it to spread unchecked in the crucial early days and weeks, the regime imperiled not only its own country and its own citizens, but also the more than 100 nations now facing their own potentially devastating outbreaks. Before you go, one last thing. Hit the subscribe button so that you stay up to date on all our content.